Here's a game. OWO 1618. Starts with knight f3. So let's play knight f6 and see what he's doing. He could go for the English, or he could go for a queen's pawn opening. So I'll just respond symmetrically to start with. And this is like the Torre attack. Let's go ahead and play e6 so that when he takes, I'll take back with the queen. I always forget. The move there is knight to... the move is knight to e4. That's what you're supposed to play there after bishop g5. See, now knight e4, he can take the knight off. So he's succeeded in getting his bishop outside the pawn chain without suffering any penalty. At least with knight e4, I would have gained a tempo chasing his bishop back, and I would have had a knight in a good square for a few moves at least. So is his knight doing anything special there? I don't think so. Let's kick the bishop. It just takes. Not very interesting. Okay, so I can play knight to c6, threaten to take. Could take back with the knight or the pawn. Yeah, I guess that threat to take is not worth very much. So instead, I will go knight to d7. The knight might go to f6. And I'm going to try and get in the move c5. Try and soften up his center. He hasn't committed to castling either direction yet. Yeah, that move makes it look like he's going to castle kingside, which is what you'd normally expect. And let's see, he's not... he hasn't got a dark squared bishop, so I could play queen c7, putting my queen on this good diagonal. Preparing to take his knight off if this other knight ever moves, or if he takes the pawn here. And let's see, I could play something like b6, bishop b7, or b6, a5, bishop a6. Might be interesting to trade off his good bishop. Okay, so OWO 1618 is thinking here. Just took the knight. Seems uninspired as well. So I have the bishop pair. Could just put a rook on the c file. Normal development. I can open, or at least half open, the c file at any time by taking. And he's got his bishop there. I mean, he's got his rook opposite my queen. I could go to b6, looking at the b pawn. Thing, you know, I'm not really going to succeed in getting much pressure on the center, am I? I was going to say putting some pressure on the center, but his center is so solid. Yeah, I can trade, open up the c file. That may be something. Well, we'll see how he reacts to this threat, which is not actually much of a threat. He defended anyway. If I ever took on b2, he could have played rook to b1, and then when the queen moves, he could take on b7. So the threat against b2 was just imaginary. Let's go ahead and open it up. Open up the c file and see which way he wants to take. Okay, so he's starting to think about it. So this bishop is on a great diagonal already. I just need to maybe push some pawns forward to open it up. a little more. Yeah, he kept it all symmetrical. Pretty dull. So I could take the rook and then bring the rook over, but let's see, if I don't take, how can he increase the pressure on the c file? He could play rook up to c3. I could do something similar. I could play rook up to c6. If he takes, I probably have to take with the bishop though, and then he brings his rook over. See, if I get rid of the light squared bishop and just go for bishop versus knight, I could play bishop to b5. Keep the tension on the c file. And it's not much. Not much to go for, but it's something, I guess. It can be tough if white is playing very unambitiously, very solidly. It can be tough to get any kind of winning chances. You know, white is foregoing any winning chances too, but it can be hard to get something going in this this kind of absolutely symmetrical position. Still an endgame with bishop versus rook and pawns on both sides of the board. Could be something for me. So how about if I take the rook now? And I have to either defend my rook or take his rook. And let's see, I could defend with queen to queen to d7. I mean, if he takes my rook, then I'll get my queen to the c file. So I will keep that control of the c file. Maybe I can play rook c6, queen c7, and then try and get in e. Try to get in e5 to soften up the center, but well, he doesn't want that apparently. So with the knight there, he's looking at these squares. He wants me to move my queen. So I can take his rook with check and then move my queen. I could take the knight. Maybe that's simpler, and then just play for the better pawn structure in the end game. Well, we'll see if I can get anything out of this. It's sort of a challenge. A challenge in its own way. So when I go queen c7, he's going to go f4. Let's see if he trades rooks first. Actually, if I go queen c7, he has to trade rooks or move his rook first. So probably, well, I don't know. He could go f4 right now and preempt that idea a little bit. Yeah, it goes f4 now. So queen c7 anyway, rook takes, queen takes, I guess. And I'll have a queen on c6. It's his move. He's got a weak pawn on on e3 I could try and target. Yep, there it goes. So we're down to queens. Yeah, and he defends e3. So what can I do to try and maneuver things around a little bit? I don't really want to create any weaknesses over there. If I push the pawns forward, I'll create some openings. So let's see. Maybe maybe I want to play a5. So I'm playing b3 to prepare a5. Okay, he wants to go to the king and pawn ending. If I take, he takes, I move. His king has to come over to defend these pawns. But let's see, his king will get to that file one step ahead of me. I can get to here when he goes to there, say. Let's see. Man, it's kind of an interesting king and pawn endgame. And we'll see if we can get anything. He's got a weak pawn on a2. And his king can't easily penetrate. His king can get as far as d4, but it can't seem to go much further. And he might just kind of run out of moves after a while. So he goes there. So let's step up. Take with the king. And now I have a passed pawn on the queen side. Yes, he has that move. So let's think about this. I'm going to step aside, and then he can push. I don't have to take. He takes, I take, and I've got one pawn holding back two. So I think I can just go here and win with the outside passed pawn. So I think he's turned a difficult king and pawn endgame into a losing one here with that c4 move. I think that was a losing idea. I mean, it's logical in a way. He's trying to liquidate his weaknesses, but it leaves me with the outside passed pawn. So the idea is to convert this into a passed pawn and then bring my king over here and take all of these pawns. So even though he outnumbers me over here on the queen side. Let's see, if I if I go here, he can just push these pawns forward. So really what I should do is I should go here and attack his pawns. He takes my pawn, I guess, or pushes, I take. Yeah, I think this is winning because I'm going to be able to gobble up two or more pawns over here, and I'll have an extra pawn on this side of the board while his king is over on this side. Because I will get either this pawn on e4 and the pawn on f4, or the pawn on e4 and the pawn on e5 if he pushes that f pawn forward. Either way, I'll get two pawns and I'll have a majority over here, and my king will be in front of the pawns. That should be a winning king and pawn endgame. Yeah, so he pushed. So I don't have to take, and I think it's important not to take. If he takes, then I will take back, and then I'll gobble up the other e-pawn. Let's see, if he pushes, I will take. He takes, and then I'll go after these pawns. That might be interesting. Push, take, take. Okay, so he just took. That's the simplest way. The simplest win for me. 1, 2, he pushes the pawn forward. 3, moves his king, I take. So his king, let's see, when I take, his king comes over here. I go here, he has to push. I go here, and then his king comes forward one more step. Well, actually, I have a couple ideas here, because I can also push this pawn forward at certain points. If I step here and his king comes forward, oh, he goes that way. Yeah, so he gives up this pawn. If I check first, does that help? So, yeah, this is easy. Getting two pawns against a king when they're connected is a very simple win, because he can never take the pawns. He can attack them all he likes, but he can never take them. And he eventually runs out of moves. Right here, he runs out of moves. He has to step away. Okay, and now this pawn is in front of his king. So he's not catching it. Okay, he resigned. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting king and pawn endgame anyway. So let's upload that and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.